Welcome to the Week in Italian Startup, where we discuss the latest highlights happening in the Italian tech and investment ecosystem. Wsense submarine connectivity startup raised 9 million from SWEN's Blue Ocean, CDP Venture Capital SGR, and a few of other investors. Very interesting company. The challenge they're trying to tackle is really understanding how exactly data underwater moves and can be harnessed with different technology. What is interesting is that there was a kind of a new term that I never seen. So everyone knows about the Internet of Things, but we don't know much about the Internet of Underwater Things. So I thought there was a very interesting way to classify a new and up and coming vertical. So basically, let's talk a little bit about the tech and then a little bit about the investors. So the tech is basically the company is trying to develop sensor that they go both in shallow water and deep water to actually enable what they define, to simplify it, as a subsea Wi-Fi system. This is what is defined as a mesh multi-hop networking, which basically refers to a type of network topology where nodes, devices are connected in a mesh-like structure, and data can be transmitted from the source to the destination by hopping through multiple intermediate nodes. And this is good because actually, even if there is nodes that fail, then still the structure remains. So it's the basic of Wi-Fi, but for underwater application, that's kind of a novelty. So it's a very, very interesting way of doing that. Very curious actually. Thinking also about the application. What is your take, Nick, on this?
Well, I agree with you. This is something that you don't see every day because the ocean economy, if you allow me the term, is mostly underwater. I mean, it's not something that you hear about in your everyday, but if you dig deeper, you understand and you discover that economy is huge, and with strong growth opportunity in many fields, resources, exploration, fishing, and other activities. So there is an opportunity there that's still a lot based on old tech, and Wsense is positioning as an enabler of a new wave of technology getting into the sea. So it's an interesting play. It's a long-term play, probably a bet on the growth of this area of the market, or this economy, if you say, and interesting.
Yeah.
I was taking a look at the investors, but I know that you want to.
Yeah, just a few more considerations. This is another time where we see data play a huge role. So we talked about, we keep talking how data is going to be basically the oil of the future. And that's basically where a lot of value is going to be generated. And Wsense is really positioning themselves to actually exploit that. So underwater data collection. I'm sure there is a bunch of different applications, from literally environmental monitoring to seabed infrastructure monitoring to they also mention the connectivity between underwater robots and mainland. So all these different plays and different technologies that are developing, and they are basically there to provide the infrastructure for that. And if you check out the technology, really, it's super ambitious. It includes not only specific sensors, which basically they already developed and I think deployed, but also some cloud applications, different nodes that can be applied different use cases. So it's pretty sophisticated network. It's a pretty sophisticated network, if I feel. So very, very interesting for sure. Talking about investor, I was curious about SWEN Blue Ocean, which is kind of layered here. So my understanding is that SWEN is a part of IMA Group, which is a French insurance company. They have their own essentially private equity arm, which manages around 6.7 billion. And it's a big group, SWEN itself, 71 people focused on that. The blue ocean arm is the one focused on ESG and impact investment. So there are multiple layers there. Interesting because we have a massive player, insurance, we can call it institutional for sure. Then kind of like layering down into what is like a little bit the future of investing, especially with ESG focus and impact. So very, very cool.
Yeah, the investors in the round are, quite a diverse group. So SWEN is one, probably the leader from the press. CDP, of course, is involved, but we have other international players. Axon Partners Group, for example. We have from the list, Moonstone is a fund from Italy. This Runway S.p.A. that I've never heard before. So there are quite a few players involved. Catapult Ocean, another name that from the, I would say, an accelerator from the ocean economy from Norway. So
exactly.
There are quite a few players from across Europe.
Exactly. We have two Norwegian investors. So Runway FPU is a Norwegian fund with 30 million under management. So it's an up and coming fund, it's very new. They already had deployed, so I think they have a portfolio of about 30 investments. Very, very interesting. And Catapult, as you mentioned, is Norwegian. So very interesting combo of French, Norwegian, and Italian investor, coming together to actually fund this deal.
Very cool. And I think last but not least, the cherry on top is that the company is funded by a woman entrepreneur, and that's always great to see. It's a deep tech company led by a woman with a very strong background in research, so very nice combination. So I think this is very good news for the markets.
Excellent point. So Chiara Petrioli, the CEO and founder of the company, basically PhD and working with La Sapienza in Rome. And basically the company is a spin-off of, is a spin-off project. So definitely like born inside the walls of academia and research. So that's really cool. Yeah, very, very interesting. All right, moving to the next big round of last week. Out of Sport Glasses startup raising 7.6 million in a crowdfunding round, participated among others by Azimut and Ferrari family office.
So tell us more, Jack.
I know. So yeah, full disclosure, with IN3 Ventures, basically we helped basically a syndicate of investors to actually channel some investments to the company. The big guys are here, basically Azimut, which already worked with Autof for a long time, is a provider of a good chunk of capital, of course. Ferrari family office was like a very strategic partner that essentially, of course, is clear how to potentially could benefit. So, but let's go back to the product, which is very, very interesting. So we saw the company kind of being born when at the beginning, the founders, basically it's two brother and a sister. So it's Federico, Roberto and Laura. And we remember when they showed us the first photochromatic cell, and literally it was a 1 centimeter square changing like transparency given the light condition, and that's where everything started. And it was not too long ago, actually. It was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Fast forward to now, basically they deployed this technology on the ski mask for sport. They are in the process of releasing the same technology for sports car sunglasses. So that's also another big news. And then, of course, a bunch of different applications you can imagine, which I cannot fully disclose, but, from, the automotive industry, you can just imagine that. And that's why it got very, very popular, because sort of product, people relate it very quickly, especially people, cycling or in the automotive sector or in the ski sports industry. And so it's very relatable. The founders are very, very well prepared, and commercially they're moving really, really fast in very strategic ways. So with this combination kind of give us sort of the magic alchemy to accomplish such a big fundraise, which I think, by the way, to date is the biggest in Mama Crowd, and barely sort of getting short of the maximum amount of money you can collect through crowdfunding. So two very interesting elements.
Congrats, very nice. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, very hardware oriented, so less of what you guys are doing, of course, but definitely relevant. And again, one last note, and then we move on because I can talk forever. It's the fact of including very strategic investors. So not only in the sort of sunglasses space, optic space, industrial space, but also like a strategic family office like Ferrari, for example. Another great partner is a Selected Investment that we saw already before, a few episodes back. We know them very well. They're really like moving fast, and they like to invest in hardware also, and they've been providing a lot of great work and great connection. So I really enjoyed this round because it's very much what smart capital is. There are only a few purely opportunistic investors. Everyone is pitching in beyond capital, so it was very cool, honestly.
So a great success case of crowdfunding, I would say. What do you think?
You mean for Autof as a
Well, an example of a successful crowdfunding
it's
endeavor.
successful, I would say, beyond the money themselves. So yes, I would say that. Like
That was the original promise, in a sense, right? So somehow that you don't
absolutely
you wouldn't only get some money, but customers, partners,
yes.
So a lot of added value.
That's probably, yeah, as you say, good point. Is like where a lot of parts of the spirit of the crowdfunding works. So beyond the money, which is, as you say, customer, business partner, and the network, really. So yeah, totally. I don't know how other crowdfunding felt down the road after post crowdfunding campaign, whether it worked or not for getting new customers or not. I can see that this one is moving, and definitely will support the company in this side. So yeah, I mean, I'm personally always a bit critical about crowdfunding. But yeah, it's good to see like a case where that works really smoothly. So yeah, there is definitely a good angle for that. I don't know what's your feel on crowdfunding lately, Nick. If you have an opinion on that or not really.
No, well, I mean, when crowdfunding maintain the promise, as in this case, it's absolutely helpful. Crowdfunding for the sake of the money, it's not. I don't see it as much useful in the long run, but that's my opinion. Just because you only have small investors with little capacity to follow on. So if you think of yourself as a startup venture grade, that's not a very helpful round in the medium to long term. It's basically self-contained in terms of utility. But when the promise is maintained, as in this case, I think it makes a lot of sense. And apparently, when you have a consumer product, high quality, very clearly understood by the consumer, probably you have an advantage of crowdfunding because the story can be told as a whole in a very clear way. You can attract the right type of capital. So, I mean, I'm not fully against. I have some, critique in mind of crowdfunding, but as a tool, it's helpful for entrepreneurs, in particular when there is the right angle. It's a very good source of funding and of additional opportunities for the enterprise. So.
Yeah, I agree. It's case dependent. Crowdfunding is effective, but really depends on the case. It's not a one size fit all sort of solution for raising capital. I agree 100%.
Yeah, and then we could open a huge window here, and crowdfunding is one of those poster child of zero interest rates economies. So when your bonds and your corporate bonds start generating a 4, 5, 6% annual interest rate returns, is crowdfunding still attractive for your everyday investor? So there might be some shakeouts in terms of quality of investors on the crowdfunding platform. So you might see fewer people, fewer small investors looking for returns, and more investors looking for medium to long term opportunities. So better suited for the instrument. I don't know. It will be interesting in the next couple of years.
Yeah, that's the perfect segue to what we were about to discuss about sort of the more macro situation and the interview that you mentioned of Luigi Tommasini. So let's talk about it for a second. So we're not in a zero interest rate macro economy anymore. So I think right now the 10-year US Treasury bond is at about 4.95%. So basically with this kind of situation, the argument is always that people institutional investor, needle mover investor will actually transition to safer harbors. So like bonds in general, because the rates allow it. And that would take away money from alternative assets, such as venture capital in general, private markets in general, and that can be like a problem. He was like, no, that's not the case. We shouldn't be worried about it as long as capital is allocated to a technology company for innovation and for the future of the economy itself. So a very, very interesting take on that. I thought it was very, very, very interesting. So just to give a background, and then of course Nick, feel free to add. Luigi Tommasini is one of the partner of the Fondo Italiano di Investimenti, one of the oldest institution that basically started investing institutionally in the private markets, from private equity to funds of funds to venture capital. I would say. So it's kind of covering a lot of ground here. And they've been doing that for long. So it's someone that definitely has seen a lot of the market movements in the past 10, 15 years.
Yeah, I think also that Fondo Italiano di Investimenti was the first real fund of funds to set up a VC fund of fund vehicle in Italy, probably 10 years ago-ish. And it was one of the engines behind the first wave of Italian modern VC funds that probably wouldn't exist without him and without Fondo Italiano di Investimenti. It was a visionary position back then. Yes. So I think that way before CDP Venture Capital, we have to thank Tommasini and his team for setting up this initial fund of fund vehicle. So somehow we owe him something.
That's super interesting. They've been focusing on private debt mostly, and in the interview, basically, and there are two things that emerge, I feel. One is the focus on private debt, that basically a lot of operation have been done in that sort of mindset. For example, I was checking some number, private debt, funds of funds vintage 2014, which I think was one of the first sort of big operations, invested in 11 funds, and those 11 funds basically invested in 228 companies. And as of today, I think the official MOIC is 1.2. So it's moving. Is definitely like it's not a venture MOIC, but it's a private debt for sure, like a benchmark. And as you say, kind of financing the second wave of tech investments in Italy. That's a powerful sort of staple here. So that's very interesting. One other element, the second element that they mention pretty heavily is their focus on the funds of funds related to impact. So again, the impact wave is also touching them really heavily, and they're actively looking to invest in funds with ESG capabilities and focus. What is interesting is that in Italy we have and then Nick, you can add, of course, because you know better than I, the different Article 6, Article 8, and Article 9 funds. So my understanding is that the full ESG is what it's called Article 9 funds. Then Article 8 is kind of a hybrid where part of the funds allocation is allocated, while Article 6 is basically the not necessarily impact, is more the more generic fund, roughly. I mean, yeah.
Basically there is a international regulation, SFDR, that basically describes the behavior and what a fund and a professional investor should do to align itself to the various articles 6, 8, and 9. And as you said, Article 9 is the true impact investments, so meaning that you are not just measured based on your IRR, but based on other metrics, impact metrics related to whatever is your goal. If you are a green fund, probably your KPI can be carbon reduction or reforestation. So how many kilometers of forest you build? I don't know, stuff like that. It can be measured, and it will be used to compute your carried interest. We have a few examples in Italy of funds with this type of. For example, our fund, Primo Digital, is in Article 8. That means that we are not an impact fund, but we do monitor, measure, and try to improve some metrics related to sustainability. Article 6 is basically the monitoring requirements. So I'm not an expert, I don't want to oversimplify, but basically the basic idea is Article 6, you monitor, Article 8, you improve, and Article 9, you really have any real impact on you invest to have an impact. So the strongest form.
Interesting distinction for sure. That's really, and I believe that depending on different sort of classification, then you can access to different institutions, and of course compliance is different. So the implication are different, are on different levels, I would say.
Yeah. Let's say that you have additional layers of operation that you have to set up to be a full Article 9 or Article 8 fund as well. So I mean, it's not just about tell me about your cash flow or
exactly.
Growth rate. There are other things that you need to monitor to work with in your day-by-day operations.
Right. Let me also put the spotlight on Primo, since we talked about Primo and we talk about AI entry ventures. So let's talk about Cubbit, portfolio company, Primo portfolio company Cubbit. Signed a distribution agreement with the exclusive network for data security across Europe. So let's maybe talk a little bit about that. I mean, we've talked about Cubbit before. They've been growing. They've been well received by the market. So it's definitely worth reminding what's going on there. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jack, for the opportunity. But basically, Cubbit. I love Cubbit. It's one of my favorite startups. Not just because of the portfolio, but because of the technology, because of what they are doing, because of the founders. We invested when they were basically kids out of university and developing, that crazy technology that you say, nah, it will not work. And every time they came back saying, hey, see, it works. We were like, okay, do more, show me more. And I have to say that in the last year or so, they built an incredible team. So they brought on board very seasoned managers from the international market. They position themselves as an enterprise product, and the market is responding in a sense. As this latest case of press release shows. They were born as a consumer product. I mean, a Dropbox, an anti-Dropbox, tool, they're growing as the definitive S3 storage solution to have full control of your data, fully decentralized, with a fraction of the cost. Security first in mind, and the market is responding. So it's a very interesting history if you look back, and the opportunity going forward, because it's exactly the right time on the market for this type of offering. So really proud of what they did so far, and really looking forward to where they can go.
And what is the a good use case for decentralized data? Because some companies, like maybe on the smaller scale, they're happy with Dropbox, they're happy with Google Drive or whatever. So what's in your experience the strongest use case for this kind of?
Yeah. Okay. So basically, an infrastructure such as the one offered by Cubbit enables a vendor and then a user to have full control over the infrastructure. If you use Dropbox is in charge of everything. I mean, the data center, the replication, the availability of the service, and you really are, putting your eggs in the Dropbox baskets. And you're not fully in control of your data. So Cubbit has a more fundamental approach in terms of security in the purest sense of the term, security and privacy. So you are in control of where your data is, how it's managed, the safety of the data, and the layer that they offer is this pure distribution, whereas you can put the data and you split the data wherever you want, across the data centers you want, in a fully transparent way. So basically, it enables vendors to offer a very strong S3 storage solution for now, and more offering going forward. And the user of the technology, feel disentangled by all the having all the eggs in the Dropbox basket. Let's say so. So it's a double play on the vendor side and on the end user side, and vendors are happy because they can offer a very strong solution, competitive solution to whatever Dropbox, Google Drive, or others are offering. So this is the basic case that comes to mind. I would say there are more, but this is a good starting point to give you an idea.
Perfect. All right. Let's finish talking about NextAI, conversational AI startup raising undisclosed seed round from Digital Magic and Smart for Tech S.p.A. To essentially develop generative AI, which is conversational, and to actually push their own SpA platform, which essentially is a platform that integrates with the WhatsApp API in order to connect the tool with anything you need when it comes to conversation with customer, sales, marketing, and to actually leverage WhatsApp like it's never been leveraged before, actually through generative AI. Very interesting use case, and very direct in terms of marketing. What is really cool is to maybe think about, is WhatsApp the next email? So we both remember how people started and are still doing personalized email campaigns, drip marketing and whatnot. Now I think this thing is kind of slowed down. WhatsApp is a way more direct way to interact with customer, and customizing that can be the key to actually for the next generation wave of marketers.
That's a very good question. I would expand it on asking, WhatsApp is the future of, is WhatsApp the future of many things? Of email, maybe. I mean, the latest developments are expanding the, let's say, the perimeter of things that WhatsApp allows you to do. We have communities now, I think. I expect them to release more ways to getting close to Slack, at least, in terms of things that you can do on WhatsApp. Then remember that we have WhatsApp Business, that's an API-based solution that's already taking the market by storm, and Spoky is a solution building on top of that. So the answer to your question is I don't know, but it can be, or let me rephrase it. They might want it to be. It will be. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. The offering is quite wide, quite broad right now. So
Yeah,
for sure they are in every smartphone.
I have this
That's a nice
feeling
point to
like
start.
sort of the stories, the Snapchat stories effect. Like Snapchat started doing stories, and then everyone is doing stories and quick content, and all the platform align. Messaging, like specific messaging, including emails, provider are kind of converging also to one way to quickly sort of aligning on this kind of interaction. So even, I mean, think about some emailing platform having like a very, very, easy interface for mobile that can kind of mimic a little bit the messaging. Some others actually are already including like AI in their response capabilities. So there is maybe some beginning of convergence there.
Yeah, I agree. I wonder whether you will be able to have this convergence, maintaining the UI we are all used to use. That's pretty simple, straight, direct, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering. So it's probably something that will happen, but I think that the big play is the UI. So if you change the UI too much, you will lose people, because I'm used to send an emoji on WhatsApp. If I have to become, if the interface becomes more complex, just imagine an interface that becomes more Slack-like. It's a different interface. It's not the same one. So
I agree.
I think UI will play a key role in this, expansion, growth of the products. I don't know.
Nick, thank you so much for joining today, and thanks all the listeners for joining. We hope we had a very insightful conversation. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next week then.